Well, good day, everybody. Welcome. I am Jan Jeremias. I think everybody here by now knows me quite well. But just in case you are listening to the recording afterwards, hello, everybody out there. Um, and for over 35 years, I've been involved in some way with the health of people. Probably almost as long have been involved with the health of pets. But for the last 20, I've taken my clinical research background and my passion for holistic wellness, and I am moved to support people and their pets towards health and longevity. Um, I would say one of my gifts is the ability to look at the whole picture, to be able to see the health in a much more global or grand kind of scheme, weaving together physical, emotional, and mental needs into a clear, actionable wellness blueprint for people. But one of my greatest joys is being here with you all each week, where we explore together these wonderful conversations and dialogues, which are just, change me, I know. And along that line, I'm here with my beautiful co-host, dear friend, and wonderful collaborator, the very creative and very kind Mary Jane McQueen. And together we've created this community. And we're really happy to be here. And thank you for you all. So I'll pass it to you, Mary Jane.
Thanks, Jen, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And as Jan, she always continues to shine brightly, no matter what's happening. She's always, I will say, in the theme of today, she's always turning the page and looking for the next chapter, the next thing that's happening. So I just want to say that I very truly appreciate that and send you a much love on the journey. And thank you, everyone, as I said, for being here. I know most of you know who I am, but for the purpose of recording, um, I wanted to share that I am the owner of my own creative studio where I help my clients to lock into their mission and find a way to express that visually in an authentic way that feels like it suits their mission and vision. And I really love to help them to overcome self-doubt and help them to find their voice. Because as I've gathered for myself and I try to relate to also the people that I'm working with, that when you connect with your true self, you really connect more deeply with others. And I just want to thank you again for being here today, and I'm really looking for the conversation. And thank you to my beautiful collaborator, Jan. Um, Um, and well, hint, hint, we have another collaborator on the call too, but Jan, of course, is the focus right now. And we'll get a little bit more into that later, maybe, perhaps. So, Jan, shall I share the poem?
Absolutely.
So, the poem today, appropriately, is named Turn the Page. It's by Natasha Kurian, and it reads, when there's nothing left to write on the current page, but to go over what's written over and over again, it's time to turn the page. When feelings are lost to the stories of yesterday, long lost in a vortex of time, never to be experienced again, it's time to turn the page. When today's possibilities are hindered by memories that will never take a life of their own, it's time to turn the page. When every thought is guided but what is written down and not by what should be written, it's time to turn the page. When you no longer want to be held captive by the fine print staring at you, but open up to the seemingly endless opportunities, it's time to turn the page. And when there's a fine line that cannot be marred between what you see and what you want, and the former no longer falls in the latter, it's time to turn the page. when you feel like it's no longer worth it to put everyone else before yourself, to further someone else's needs to that of your own. It's time to turn the page. When words don't come easily and you can no longer can ignite the flame when everything is said and done, it's time to turn the page. When you are done with all the drama and all the hate, with all the self-pity and all the loathing, it's time to turn the page. When you look at that page in the dim candlelight and feel weighed down by the contents for fear of losing it, it's time to turn the page. When playing the benefit of the doubt card no longer seems worth it, it's time to retract that card and turn the page. When you go over the flaws on the page, don't skim through them, but drown in them so you can learn from them as you turn the page. When you are done judging yourself and it's time for the final verdict, forgive yourself, no matter what the outcome is. When you feel like you've lost what you had, when it feels like nothing can fill the void that's left within, keep an open mind and see what the next page has to bring. When holding on seems far-fetched, when delusion with the make-believe is no longer worth it, when you decide that there's nothing you want to do about it, turn the page and move on. When you look at that page, you will see what was, but don't you for a split second let that hover over what can be. Someday you will flip back and see how everything written down shaped you. When you turned that page, you began a new chapter. Regardless of whether you started a new chapter every day or not, a start is a start, and that's a step forward, which is far better than a step backwards. So much richness in the poem, and I hope that that brought some sort of um, feeling and connection to everyone here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mary Jane. That was a spectacular poem. So welcome everyone once again. Um, we're so glad you're here today for our gathering, Turning the Page, Beginnings and Endings. September, with its quiet shifts and subtle transitions, reminds us that every ending carries the seed of something new. Today, we'll be leaning into the truth that speaks deeply to the heart of change. Transitions inevitably unravel our understanding of who we are in order to make space for who we are becoming. Endings, though often bittersweet, are never barren ground. Just like fallen leaves enrich the earth, every closure, whether in season, in relationships, work, or within ourselves, creates the fertile soil where new life can take root. It is in these endings that wisdom, nourishment, and possibility quietly gather, preparing us for what's next. And yet, it's not only the endings or the beginnings that shape us most, it's the space in between, the tender suspension when we've released what was, but haven't yet grasped what will be. This in between can feel uncertain, even uncomfortable, but it is also an incubator of courage, resilience, and clarity. It's here in this pause that something within us reorganizes and prepares to bloom. Think of a trapeze artist. The real transformation doesn't happen when they are holding tightly to one bar or the next, but in the air between. The moment of letting go, trusting the arc, and being suspended in possibility. That's where the courage lives. That's where the becoming begins. So, as we come together today, let us honor endings, not as closures, but as fertile ground. And let us embrace the in between with gentleness and trust, knowing that each of us is in the process of our own becoming.
Wow, that was very powerful, Jan. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It just brought to mind, when all of things are happening in this world, we don't know often what's happening in other people's lives. Or if we do, we may even know the surface level what's happening. And so um, I really love that visual of the of the trapeze artist because it's true. When we're grasping tightly to what we know, where we feel safe, um, the beauty, the transformation, as you were saying, is in the letting go. And sometimes that's really hard to do, especially if we're scared of heights. Right, Jan?
Right. I mean, which I'm not, but still, it
No.
is very hard to do. Um, yeah, we sit there and we grasped so tightly onto something that was, for whatever reason, comfortableness, fear, you know, what all those different things, and none is exclusive of the other. It's like you can be you can grasp what is no longer serves you because it's safe and you know it. And then in the letting go, and it's always been in that kind of in between stage where there's space
Mhm.
and there's space for us to feel and to think. And I think we tend to rush through that space and move really quickly into what's next, not necessarily giving it sometimes much thought. We are so uncomfortable in that unknown and that sort of place where we're not quite sure what's next that we don't take the time in that space. And we either intentionally jump to what's next or we distract ourselves out of that space because we'd rather be anywhere but that. That kind of like, oh, what's next? What do I do? You know, it's almost like you feel unproductive, but yet it's the most creative and fertile place you can be because
Mm.
there's so much potential there. But we believe that we're like, there's nothing almost, it's kind of like you're just trying a whole bunch of little things to help them see what's gonna jive and what's gonna like start to put together maybe a puzzle or whatever, the pieces or whatever are just coming together or you're thinking about. And it's almost like you feel unproductive. And that feeling of, let's say, being very productive oriented kind of people, we tend to want to move out of that space and say, okay, well, what's next? I need something concrete to do. Like, and we do stuff, busyness or whatever. And I
Yes.
don't think we necessarily give much thought sometimes to that space.
No, that's very true because often that space, um it can be very disorienting, right? You don't know necessarily the next step forward. You can't really see. You may have some idea, but you don't really know. And so, as as a chronic worrier, self-admitted, uh, often those things that we're sitting and worrying about or don't always come to fruition either. Often they don't, or not in the way that we expect. But there is some value of sitting in that. Well, it's pretty much essential for any kind of transformation is just to be able to sit and maybe not dwell there forever, but be able to sit in the thing and feel whatever emotions are coming with that. Because yeah, it's pretty messy, can be pretty messy, but it's definitely a space where it can be. I guess fertilizer for whatever you want to call it for what comes next or the beautiful garden that can be grown next. So it's just yes, we're definitely often as human beings love to rush past that part because we don't always want to sit in that messy in that thing. But as our beautiful collaboration with Darlene um, coming up with like or the symbol we decided to go with was a lotus flower because what grows from the muck? A beautiful flower.
Yes, yes, my personal like kind
Yes.
of connection to that flower with the name of my yoga business, Aroma Lotus Yoga, and just my Sanskrit name, which is Padma,
Mm.
but which is lotus. But it's also this feeling of, it is messy and it is the floundering part that kind of, and it reminds me a lot of yoga actually, because I think that we talk a lot about this transition point, the transition between beginnings and endings, and it's moving from one pose to the next, and how quickly we do that. It's kind of like, especially when we're doing stuff, the same things on one side versus the other. And so you do it on your left side, you can do it on your right, and you kind of know what's coming. And so you tend to move through the poses really quickly because you know what's next. And you're like, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. And we don't, and I can't even tell you how many times in a class I'll tell people to slow down, like, let me announce the pose before you get to it. And it seems like something silly, but it's really very true. It's kind of like we rush through everything. It's like, okay, from meals to everything, we kind of move knowing what our day is gonna, we've got to get through this so we can get to the next. And there's no space. And I think when we're in a really challenging time or moving from an ending to a beginning, that space when something closes is really, and it could be something good, like an event or something you've like been working on for a very, very long time. I remember one of the first times I ever felt like that was, well, I mean, I don't know if it would be any surprise that I took my boards for medical school. I was going to go to medical school. And I remember I had spent so much time studying for the exam, like months and months and months. And I remember waking up the day after the exam going like, okay, well, now what do I do? Like there was this huge void of hours and hours and hours a day, which I know, like basically I had time. Like there was nothing to fill that time. I wasn't going to preparatory classes. I wasn't taking practice exams, all these things. And I was like, okay, now what do I do? Mary Jane, you took yourself off mute. Did you want to say something?
Well, my pointer was hovering there, and then I realized it when I moved it. It off click, but yeah, yeah. What do I do with myself now? I mean, so many transformation points. I know I've shared on these calls before. Is like when I was, you know, um, when they sort of moved out of my job, my corporate job after so many years, it was like one of those things. It's like it's like what do I do now? But like for me, the question was, who am I now? So it's like all of these transformational periods, where you know, it's really hard to sometimes hard to move through, but just knowing that something beautiful can come from that muck.
Yeah, and I love what you shared about, I think that's the big question often when things end. Who am I now? And then that mucky part basically is like, who do I want to become? And I think it's almost like all those choices of like, you know, we have all these ideas, all these feelings within us, all these ideas, all these thoughts, and it's kind of like, okay, well, what's next? And who do I want to be based on this? And yoga, when we do poses like that, where we'll be, and there's emptiness, like a space, we'll be like, what do you want to fill yourself up with? To one of your favorite kind of feelings, like you have to fill from, you have to pour from a full cup. But what do you want to fill yourself up with? And I think we're so quick to kind of fill that void. Almost like we've like put in like, I feel like you're a pillow and you stuff it or whatever. It's like we put anything in there that we can, just so we give the appearance on the outside of having it all together. It's like, oh my gosh, like, you know, it would be a tragedy if we looked like we didn't have our act together. And so I think that we feel very uncomfortable almost in that sort of messiness and don't really often know how to feel and how to navigate that messiness.
That's so true. That's so true. And I mean, as we were preparing for this and when we came up with the title for this conversation today, I mean, it's such a powerful ability to be able to sit in that and be able to um, flip the story, change the script, whatever, however you want to describe it, and look at the fact that although right now you might be sitting in the uncomfortableness of change and transformation, that there are so many beautiful beginnings that can come from endings. And it doesn't always have to be a negative. Often there can be so many beautiful experiences and adventures that can come from that that you would have never been open to if you
Mhm.
continued on grasping onto that, the pole, the side of the trapeze, and not letting go. Um,
Not letting go. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of the reason when we were chatting last Friday about what this week would be, was this basically this idea or this belief within the Jewish faith. When you come to this time of year where New Year's is coming, Rosh Hashanah in Hebrew, and then Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, it is said that on that day, you are inscribed. So you're written down either into the book of life or the book of death. And all these different things and these prayers, when I tell you they are very kind of ominous, Mary Jane can attest to that because we were
yes.
talking about it. They're very kind of like um, fear provoking. And when especially from the time you're young, we are kind of told this. And there's something very almost like overwhelming about that idea of like on this day it is decided whether you will live or you will die in the next year. And when we were talking about a book and scribing in a book and then turning the page of a book, because it actually talks about that too, of like turning the page into the next year
Mhm.
and turning the page into the next time or the next, you know, or the next part of your journey. There was this feeling of like literally like turning the page and going from endings to beginnings. And in you know, the title,
Yeah,
the, there is a
absolutely.
beginning, there is a beginning in the end.
Absolutely. And it's all about bringing in that perspective, isn't it? It's like, allowing for that perspective to be viewed, because sometimes we just we can't see it. What is it? You can't see the forest for the trees. So sometimes it's or not most times it can be very um discomfortable, just discomforting, and the thoughts that come and things that when you're trying to work through that process. So it's yeah, it's just really, one of the articles we were reading, Jen, was talking about recalibration. I kind of I like that. It really is a recalibration. It's like, oh, let's set us back to point zero. Here we go. Let's start let's start fresh. Looking at it as a fresh start versus a mourning and a leaving behind.
Yeah, I mean, that is so true. I mean, but I also have always thought it is in a lot of ways this recalibration because it's not like you can erase what happened in the past. I mean, you carry still so much of that experience with you, and that is the fertile ground for what will be. I mean, it was I was talking to somebody I knew who left her career in nursing and she would kind of like not talk about it. And I would say, but it's still so much of who you were. and who you are now. And so I think we tend to compartmentalize ourselves a lot, where like we were this, we did this, and we don't honor that sort of aspect that became part of us once we did it. And then all of a sudden we're like, okay, and maybe I don't like, I don't practice that anymore as far as like I don't, go to a job like that every day, but that's just the job. So much of what you added and brought to that job is now you.
Hence my question after being restructured out of my job of like, who am I now?
Exactly, exactly. And that happens whether it be a job, the loss of a person. When my dad died, I was like, you know, am I still a daughter? Like, and that feeling of like that being, a totally different kind of dynamic and relationship from the when I got divorced. And then all of a sudden it was like, who am I now? So I think that we go through that throughout our lives because, life is a series of endings and beginnings. Austin, please.
Yes, one thing that I love when you talked about um, the space that was a little bit earlier on, like creating space in between what we're perceiving, and then just now when you were talking about who we've been, we like to compartmentalize them, and I'm multitasking here. And I I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I remember thinking that through one of my phases, coming away from the construction world and electrician and master electrician and all the special stuff I did there. During my introspective, one of my videos, I remember I came across the term spiritual electrician, and I tied it together so seamlessly, but to the point, for a long time, I did just that. I was like, oh, well, maybe I'm not that person anymore. And yet, although it's fun to say spiritual electrician, I was able to explain that and tie it together and really show, you know, it's all one, harmony weaving in. I'm gonna stop though because I'm multitasking. But I just wanted to throw that out there. That really resonated. You can mold your compartmentalizes into something new. It might be hidden jewels right under your nose.
That's right. No, I love that, Austin, because I do think we do. We tend to think we leave things behind. It's kind of like that was me kind of attitude. I mean, I used to do the same thing when, I used to say I was a scientist. And my friends would turn to me and say, Janet, you're still a scientist. It's like, that's just the way you think. It's the way I process information. It's the way I go through things and, the kind of like the root cause of things and things like that. It's very scientific. And still, they're always like, Jan, once a scientist, always a scientist when it comes to you. And it wasn't like I used to say that. It was like I was, but really I could not separate it out. It became such like an integral part of who I was. And it's so funny that you said that because I had a healing done in Mexico with a shaman. And he told me I was a spiritual alchemist. Awesome. And so as you say that now, I'm like, oh my gosh, spiritual electrician or spiritual alchemist. Look what we have here
Yes,
in this
yes,
room today. But yeah, I mean, I thought, oh my gosh, how appropriate. It kind of combined my worlds together, the spirituality and the kind of more scientific. So yeah.
I like what Al put in the chat, the woo-woo scientist.
Oh, I know. I've been told that. My friend Jeff used to say that. He used to say to me, you have this weird combination of scientific woo-woo.
Well, there you go. See?
But that's the merging, right? That's the melding.
Yes.
This kind of honoring of the past versus trying to eradicate that the past happened or leaving it behind in some way. That whole word, like your word for the year, Mary Jane, honor you.
Hmm.
Um, it's like the whole honoring of something. It's a like a conscious honoring of like this has become a part of who I am in some way. And from that, then you move forward into what's next, eventually through the messy middle.
Yeah, yeah, yes, the messy middle, but the messy middle is the key point, isn't it? That's where
Yes.
the the beauty begins, even though we may not see it from the little seed that's planted. It's there. It's coming. That's my word for last year was belief. That is my belief that it is coming, and what's meant is coming. But I was just thinking, tying back to how Austin was sharing, and you were talking about how, it's like we try to disconnect from those pieces or compartmentalize, as Austin was describing it. But it speaks back to the last few weeks when we've been, talking about weaving the tapestry. Because all of those threads, no matter what they are, whether they're the golden threads where we feel like we're on top of the world, or the threads that are at the back supporting these, they're all part of the beautiful tapestry that we're weaving, that are in our life, and they make up who we are. And I just it's so important. It's so important to recognize that not just the front surface shiny bits are the important bits, the hard work, the support, the foundation behind all of that. And that could be that messy middle is actually on the back of the tapestry. So yeah, it's interesting how even even as we move from one topic to another, it still all connects together. And I love that it's shall I say, woven together. That's my really dorky humor coming out. So
Yeah, yes, absolutely. But I think there are points within the tapestry where that messy middle, like there are parts that get unraveled,
mm,
like that kind of the threads become, almost insignificant or unraveling. That's kind of like the who am I kind of thing.
yes,
And the weave that comes together reminds me of when you have a scar, a lot of times the tissue that actually has been woven together is some may not be pretty, but it's stronger than what was there before. And I think that that's what happens, right? Is that in that unraveling, the whatever's next, all of a sudden there is a strength. I think I think that's a combination. I think there's an element maybe of sadness in a way. But there's also this element of strength. Like when you hold kind of two spaces, it's kind of like a grief of or a feeling of loss of who you were. And yet there is this real, there is this liberation about you of who you have become. So I think you almost carry both with you.
dual definitely. We definitely carry all of it with us. And I think um the whole part of transformation and moving towards the people that we feel we are at heart, and moving towards our best selves. Um, it's important to remember that those sometimes those loose threads, the unraveling, are the ones that end up we means we may have to start again. But maybe that there's a beautiful beginning coming from that ending. So I love that how the two tie in together.
Yeah, as do I. And I think that the thing also is that it's never ending. I mean, life happens constantly, it's this constant cycle. We see it in the seasons, as now we move into September and we move out of, the summer, and there's there is an ending, and then there's something coming, and then there's the transition in the middle, and so it's constantly happening, different ages and different cycles of life and different times of life, working to retirement. I mean, there's so many um, experiences that we have that are, just in the cycle of a day, one day ends, another begins, and it keeps on going. And I think that we can look at it like that, of it's just this constant cycle. I think if we ever think that we are complete, life shows us that, there's more.
Yes, there's more, even if we don't want it, right, Jan?
Yes, absolutely. There's more, even if we don't want it.
It's like, no,
Right.
not again.
Not again. I've had enough. And then there's this feeling of when it, when it does go through and you have that feeling of disorientation and the unknown and who am I now? You're like, figure this out already.
It's like
Like,
rinse and repeat.
rinse and repeat. Like, don't I know this?
Well, as they say, what with people talk about like reincarnation and coming back and whatever, however you want to define it, it's just like well, you'll keep on repeating the lessons until we understand them, till we fully understand them. So it's all part of it's all part of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it is. But I think that that's also, some sort of, I think that, in the beginning, or I think when we're, I know, well, I can speak for myself. I think when I was young, I kind of had this feeling like, oh, okay, well, I figured it out and I know who I am now. And I kind of didn't understand that that was going to constantly be evolving. It was kind of like, okay, I've got it all together. I know my place in the world. I know who I am. I know what I'm supposed to do. And then life happens, and all of a sudden you have those questions, and you go back and you're in that messy middle, and you're like, okay, well, I thought I had that figured out. And then you're like, well, I guess not, in quotation marks.
It's like, yes, I guess not. Yes. But it's such a beautiful, it can be such a beautiful space. But it's just, I guess what we're speaking to is not taking the time to actually reflect um on what might be happening around you. Take away the what's happening to you, because maybe this is a lesson you need to learn, so it's happening for you. And just really looking for those glimmers, those little sparkles, those things that are going to light you up, that are going to help you to move forward, and they're going to light your path forward as you move through that transitional, transformational phase into your next beautiful chapter.
I was listening to something interesting last week, and they were saying that whole idea of it's not happening to you, it's happening for you.
Hmm.
And he was saying that he finds that it's happening for you kind of hard for him to like he says it, the gentleman in the interview said, I say it, but I don't know that I really believe it. And so he said is he can grasp his head, like it's much easier for him to think that it's happening with me.
Mm.
And so I really like that because it's a little bit like it's like your part in it versus like, this belief that, it's happening for me. Oh my gosh, it's happening for me when life is really hard, and there's much more of like what we spoke to a few weeks ago of like a mutual collaboration, integration of you and the universe partnering. So
Hmm.
I kind of like that. It's happening with you, as opposed to not being the victim and it's happening to you and not being totally on the other side, which is, oh, I know it's happening for me. Because I think when you're going through the muck, it's really hard to wrap your head that there's like something that's like, that there's a really good reason for whatever you're going through.
The why behind the situation.
Yeah, the why and and the lesson. And you say, I know I'm supposed to learn something, but when I used to years ago, I went to wonderful acupuncturist or whatever. And her big thing when, when life, when we would chat, it would be whatever, is if were moving through something and we were letting go of something, it would be let it go easefully.
Mm.
Like, may I learn this in an easeful way as opposed to a monumental kind of traumatic way? Like, can I get this lesson that I'm supposed to learn in an easeful way? So that was her big thing, easefully.
There's something so soft and with that word.
Actually, I looked it up. It's not, I don't think it's like when you put it in, spell check says that it's not correct. And I always like kind of look it up and I'm thinking to myself, I think it's a word. Is it a word? But, but yeah, it always makes me smile as I put it in and I'll sign things or, wish people an easeful recovery or may they heal easefully. And then I'll be like, okay, this is not a word. I'll be like, word to me, thanks.
Well, all words came from repetition. So if we say it often enough and we put meaning behind it, it eventually can become a word in the dictionary, that is.
Thank you. I like that. No, but I mean, so that's what she would say. Can I get this, if I'm supposed to let go of this or transform into a new stage or evolve in some way, let it happen easily. Let that shedding of the skin happen in an easeful way. And maybe that's what we kind of put out there as far as like, you know, um, if we want to, if you pray or if you meditate on something and for an intention, is may this pass easily.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's cool. So I see Al has his hand.
yes.
Yeah, this is very interesting. When you say turning the page, it's like turning a new leaf, you know. I mean,
Yes.
you're, you're moving on to something new. So this week's acronym is the word PAGE, which is promoting advocacy, garnering expertise. So when we have a cause that we are going towards, just go ahead, you know, with whatever we do our best, you know, to achieve the excellence in us and expertise. Like both of you are doing is so wonderful. Like doing, you're coming up with so many programs and like the withering, you know, the withering of the and the weaving the program that you're doing it, you know, so so interesting, you know, and it's everyone has its own cause, you know, like for example, people has their own charity or they're doing something good for the world, you know, they're trying to impact somebody's lives and all that. So it's important to have this advocacy in our lives that will eventually turn out something good in our lives. Yeah. So and even promoting rehabilitation, you know, like some people like drug abuse and alcohol and all those stuff, and those people who are excessive and all kinds of toxic behavior and all that. You know? So once we have a cause that we are going for, so then it's good that we promote this along the way, and then so that people are more aware and all that. So basically, this is what we should do in our lives. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Al, and thanks for the little. I'm glad you appreciate these conversations and some of our other work. But you are so right. I think we need more spaces like this, and I think these conversations are really valuable. Um, this whole idea of an evolving, and transformation. Um, there is there is a building and and Austin's just beautiful what he just wrote. When we turn the page, we don't discredit the page before. And it's not like we can unread it, right? If you read a book and you read the page, it's not like all of a sudden you can pretend you didn't read it. You know, it's there. And then you move on to the next page. But I think our belief or in our minds is kind of like we're done with something. It's really like, okay, that was our, we even say that chapter is closed, is what we say when something ends. That chapter is closed, and it makes it seem like so, rigid and so like, okay, that was that chapter, and this is another chapter, and like they're not connected at all. When really it's more of a sequel. And you need what came before to be what is. I think Divine had her hand up, and so I wanted to go to Divine. Welcome, welcome, friend.
Hello, my loves. I couldn't leave without saying hello. That's just not who I am, you know. So yeah, there was so much that was said, and I'm so grateful to be here with you guys this morning. I'm also multitasking in the background so I can get ready to get out of here and go run some errands so I can come back and rejuvenate my energy. It's been a lot going on, and you guys are talking about transformation, and I mean, oh my goodness, that's the alchemist and all these things, and I'm like, wow, that's my signature too. But when life happens to you, what are you going to do, right? Even I just made that rhyme, but life is happening to me, and when I say it's happening to me, it's happening with me, for me, all of it. But they say that we are the co-creators of our life. And a lot of things that I used to believe, my spirit, my soul has revealed to me that no, that's not set in stone. Saying that we are the co-creators of our life, we get to choose our decisions. What is free will? Because if some things are already happening for us because it's contracted to happen for us, the soul has agreed to allow this experience to happen. But our free will is our decision making. We get to make decisions. But that doesn't mean we don't get redirected. That doesn't mean we don't get sit down, right? I have two autoimmune disorders. And when I got diagnosed with these two autoimmune disorders, I'm like, why is this happening to me? you know? But my body, I feel like the body is like the oversoul. Okay. Because the body houses the soul, it houses the heart, it houses the spirit. And when you do not honor the body's experience, because the only reason why we have a human experience because we're in a body. So honoring the body, honoring what it needs, whether it's physically, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, we got to honor the body. And when I pulled back all of my energy to honor the body and give myself what I needed after pouring into, so many people all my life, it was just kind of foreign for me because it's not what the mind was always doing, right? The doing is like the priority list, the to-do list, the server list, this job list. This is what I am. This is what I identify with because my mind is so used to program to doing this, and that. But when you pull back your energy and you go within and you give yourself what you need, it can be foreign to the mind. So it's like the body, now the mind has to go with the body and the heart. Now the mind has to go with the body and the soul. So it's like, no, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I've really been understanding that my value is not from what I do. My value is not, it's connected. It may be connected to what I do. It may be connected to what I serve, right? Even my daily routines have shifted. I'm no longer offering courses, or I'm no longer you know, automatically getting online right away in the morning and talking to everybody and chatting with everybody. You know what I'm saying? I used to do those things and now I'm like, okay, what do you do when you first get up, Divine? Oh, you got to drink your water. You got to take your vitamins. You got to do your stretches. You got to do your yoga. You got to do your meditation. You got to pour into yourself. You know what I'm saying? So getting into the routines of that. Mm, energetically, my cells are doing something amazing because anytime you get diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, it's like your body and your cells are fighting against each other. So it's like a spiritual battle and a physical battle at the same time, guys. And I'm going to share more about this story one day when I get more in tune with it. But it's so powerful how transformation can happen where we really don't know anything and that anything is possible, if that makes sense. I'll yield it there, my loves.
Thank you so much for sharing, Divine. Beautiful, beautiful. And I think that so much can happen. And I love your shift in basically prioritizing you, with the big, the capital YOU, it's just um because I think that it is so much, and that is, that honoring, and that also is that sort of messy middle where we, start to kind of navigate and, pick the tools or the things that we need to keep us, in the best places. We have to, like, we all know so many different things. I mean, in this room, each one of us has modalities, has things we've done, whether we practice them as a profession or not, just things that we've gathered in that support us. I mean, different times we kind of have to call on different things, and we pick and choose, and we kind of select, and we create a space of that, of healing or of regeneration in that space.
It's so true. And what value it is to be surrounded by beautiful people in this community, that if we need a hand up from the from the muck or in the process of transformation, that we know that there are people um, that understand where we're at, and they may not understand the whole situation, but we understand where they're at, but they're able to support us, even if it means just listening.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think this is a, I know, I mean, I can speak personally, is I don't think it's a journey we can do alone. I think we need the support of others, like you said, just whether it be a listening ear, and, you know, whatever it is, in whatever form. And those people can be communities like this, could be friends, could be family, but I think we do need people around us, or pets in my case. That is that, you know.
I got a new pet too, guys.
Yeah, or beings around us, so, could be plants. I mean, I think we need that kind of support, and however we draw that support.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I saw Divine. I think you have a new kitty cat in your life, yes?
Yes, I got a new kitty cat, new puss. Call her Puss. Her name is Opal. We named her
Opal.
Opal, and Opal is my birthstone, but I didn't see. This is the thing, when you follow your intuition and you just go with that first feeling, it's just like, okay. And we named her Opal. Opal is my birthstone, which is she's a joy, guys. She's a joy. I guess you could say she helps bring the family a lot of emotional support and fun because she plays a lot. She's only 10 weeks old, so. And you know what? Another thing about transformation, guess what? I did not used to like cats or dogs. Yes, Jan. Yes, Mary Jan. When I was a kid, I
I
used to be
won't hold it
afraid
against
of,
you.
yeah, I used to be afraid of cats and dogs. And then as I started being more open into my heart and they started gravitating towards me, and I just surrendered to the love and to the cute things about them. And I just said, okay, this is a part of my signature as well. Me being a life path number 6, I'm connected to animals and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So the more you know yourself and find out different things that you never thought you would find out, then you're connected to. So it's a beautiful thing, my loves. But I got to head out. I got to go to my appointment. I will
Okay.
talk to you both soon, hopefully. Okay. I
Hopefully, yeah.
appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you. And I'm just going to
Thank
say that
you.
my birthstone's also opal.
Oh my goodness, we have a lot of people within the same birth
Uh,
line,
Oh,
don't we?
I know. And so, yeah. I mean, I always looked at animals as being this, they really, there's such beautiful wisdom about them. They really they know how to live, they know what's important. And so I've always looked, in every animal I ever got, that was brought to me, there was, talk about a lesson, there was something they were supposed to teach me
Mm,
about myself.
it's beautiful.
Yeah, always. Yeah. So, should we move into the meditation, Mary Jane?
I think that's a good plan.
Okay. So take a moment to find a comfortable position, allowing your body to rest with ease. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable, and bring your attention inward. Begin by noticing your breath. Just let it be natural. Just notice, the movement in of an inhale, the movement out of the exhale. With every inhale, recognize that it is a beginning, the moment of receiving, of being filled with life. With every exhale, feel the release, the ending, the letting go, the soft surrender. And at the end of each breath, notice the space in between, that quiet pause, neither inhale nor exhale. It is a moment of stillness, of possibility, of fertile ground for what comes next. Breath is a teacher of the cycles of life, beginning, ending, and the sacred space, the sacred pause that connects the two. Now bring to mind the sound or the word Om, if you know it, carrying the vibration of the universe, the cycle of existence, also beginning, middle, end. The rising, the sustaining, and the dissolving. As you breathe in, silently hear within yourself that ow or oh, the beginning. As the breath flows through your body, hear the ooh, ow, the middle. And as you exhale and release, hear so rest in the quiet space between the next inhale, the infinite pause that holds all potential, that place of transition. Stay with this rhythm. Inhale, exhale, and pause. Trusting that each breath carries its own wisdom, its own cycle, its own wholeness. Each breath is a complete unit, is a whole. When you are ready, bring your awareness back to your body, back to the room, carrying with you the remembrance that every ending is a new beginning. And within each pause lives the possibility of transformation. Within each pause lives the possibility of transformation. Well, thank you all for joining us today. We would love to chat with you between these, so feel free to connect. Mary Jane and I have a workshop tomorrow in the afternoon from 2 to 4. So we're really excited about that. That is online. Um, the information's all, I mean, pretty much all over LinkedIn and everything like that, and our Facebook pages, but we can also pop the link to that in the comments section. We would love to have you. Um, just come as you are. That's perfect. Messy or middle or whatever, it's all welcome. Um, we also have our in-person retreat coming up. Mary Jane, do you want to share about that?
Yeah, so looking forward to it. Yeah, this is glad Darlene's back with us today too. We are so excited to be collaborating. Jan and Darlene and I are collaborating on an in-person retreat. We are so looking forward to being able to serve in that way and just you know have beautiful moments of transformation. Um, for ourselves, if for no one else. So we're looking forward to that. But we are also offering two other ways to join us. One is just for the daytime in person as well, but also online. We are going to be offering a hybrid version of this retreat as well, so that those that may not be able to travel to join us, for whatever reason, for a distance or availability, whatever the case may be, are able to join us for some beautiful exercises in both creativity and breath and movement and just overall joy. That's what comes to me when we're talking about this beautiful retreat. So we might pop some link in the comments for that as well. Just if you want to check it out, we would welcome each and every one of you to join us in whatever way feels right for you or available to you. So yeah, yeah, such a blessing to be able to engage in this way.
Absolutely. And if anybody feels so inclined and they'd like to, if they themselves cannot attend or whatever, but they know someone else who might be interested, we would really greatly appreciate it if you maybe would not keep the event to yourself and would kindly pass it along to maybe somebody else who might want to join us. So, yeah, we'd appreciate that greatly.
Many blessings, everyone. Have a beautiful weekend.
Yes, have a beautiful weekend, many blessings, and we will hope to see you next week.